Hi everybody, we're back and we're going to be talking about the photoelectric effect. Now you know Albert Einstein is mostly noted for relativity, but it turns out that he did not receive a Nobel Prize in physics for relativity or any of the others. The number one thing that he ended up getting a Nobel Prize for was the photoelectric effect. And this was a very curious thing because the understanding of light at that time, it was confusing. And so what I've done here is I've drawn a picture, and what we have is there were vacuum tubes at that time. And they had a vacuum tube, and they had cesium, which is a metal, also an element, that was coating, and they had meters, and they were able to go ahead and take a look and see that they noted that if cesium in a vacuum, if it was exposed to light, there would be a current that would occur. So then the scientists decided, hey, let's take a look at different colors of light and see how that impacts the current that flows. So they ended up taking a red light and they exposed to cesium. And at first they used a dim light. Well, there was no current. Well, they tried increasing the intensity of light because the understanding at that time was if you want more energy from the light, you simply increased its intensity and then that would increase the energy. Well, they ended up increasing the intensity, still no current. No matter how bright they made the red light, they could not get a current to flow. And so this was a quandary. Well, then they ended up going to blue light, same test setup. Shone blue light on it, they ended up getting a current. Now the strange thing about it was that no matter how weak the blue light was, there was always some kind of current. Now if you had a weak source of blue light, you get a weak current. But if you ended up having intense blue light, they ended up getting a large current. And so all of us, everybody was like, what is going on here? Why can't we get red light to go ahead and create a current, but somehow blue light is? Well, leave it to Albert Einstein to come up with a solution again. He ended up commenting that the blue light, and this would include purple light, is more energetic. But as you go down in frequency, by the way, blue light would be analogous to a high frequency. Let's say if we're talking about sound, blue light would be equivalent to a high pitch. Think of a high tone. A low tone, such as red, would be considered a low note. And its frequency is actually lower. Red light has less energy, whereas then we came up with the conclusion that blue light was more energetic than red light. And of course, if you go down lower than red light in frequency, you end up going to infrared, and then from there you end up going down to microwaves and radio frequency. So there's a complete radio frequency, electromagnetic spectrum here, where we go from all the way down in very low frequencies, up through microwaves, up through light, up to UV, even up to gamma rays. And so this then ended up causing a different concept of light. One of the things also that this experiment would further later on go ahead and demonstrate was that light was in packets called photons. In fact, what you can do is you can continually diminish the intensity of light, get down to where you finally get to a point where you end up getting just simple individual photons that end up occurring.